Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction. And I want to thank the organizing committee for the privilege of being here and for the floor. In particular, I'd like to thank Professor Mandel for all of his hard work in getting me here and all of the great arrangements. It's a real honor. I've been asked to speak about revisiting portal hypertension in a very specific case in pancreatic cancer, some challenges and innovations. And I must say, after listening to the excellent lectures today, I don't know if I'll say anything new that people don't already know, but I will like to give my thoughts on how I think about it. So at this point in my career, every pancreatectomy I do is now vascular. We do a lot of arterial work and a lot of portal venous work. And I can tell you what scares me the most and what is, I think, the most difficult thing in vascular pancreatic surgery is this situation here, which is cavernous transformation of the portal vein with numerous collaterals. You can see the numerous collaterals around the head of the pancreas. You can see disconnected varices from the stomach. These patients, of course, are going to have some degree of portal hypertension, even despite the collaterals. And I think that these are the most challenging cases. And if I categorize what the challenges are, certainly hemorrhage is one of the biggest things. These are thin-walled collaterals. Anybody who has worked with these types of cases, you basically just touch or brush up against the collaterals and they'll bleed. Part of that is because of their thin wall, part is because of the hypertension. The other issue is lack of suitable targets. And finally, the severe venous congestion as you take down collaterals leading to bowel ischemia. I think that these are the three biggest challenges. And that's what I would like to address in my talk, is to give some techniques for dealing with portal hypertension in the setting of pancreatic cancer. And it is in the line of collateral preservation, mesocaval shunts, collateral bypasses, and a temporary shunt procedure. So this is shown here graphically what the situation is. You can see the tumor, and you can see all of these collaterals around the tumor. So the portal vein is out, SMV is out, splenic vein is out, and you have these thin-walled collaterals that actually will take blood back to the liver. And on the lower side, where's your target? That can often be difficult on a low-lying uncinate lesion. And understanding that even when you sew to something, you have to get a clamp proximal to that, so that has to be considered. And then finally, even at baseline, before you start dividing the collaterals, you're going to have some degree of portal hypertension, which not only causes bleeding in the surgical bed, but in particular with a clamp, as you take down these collateral vessels, as you're taking out the tumor, you can get severe portal hypertension with venous congestion and possibly even ischemia. So the first little trick is collateral preservation. And it simply goes at this, and this is my attempt here, is just making a diagram. If you think about almost reading these scans, and I'll show you a scan, how is it that you can preserve a series of collaterals to get blood back to the liver, to drain the bowel without having to reconstruct? And it basically is sort of like I say, reading the tea leaves and trying to find a route back. And a lot of this, as I'll show you, is planned preoperatively and then tested in the operating room. Here, these collaterals are going to have to go, and so all of the blood supply in this particular patient is going to be left-sided blood supply, and you can see this will be your target. Now, sometimes you may actually have a disconnection of the jejunal and ileal branches as you do this, and so one of the techniques that's an adjunct to this is to put in a temporary portal shunt. And here you can see an actual image of a patient. We do three-dimensional rendering of the patient. So you look at this carefully, you can see that there's one major collateral going along the greater curve of the stomach, connecting up with the coronary vein. There's an intact IMV, which goes then through collaterals up to the portal system. You can see that the splenic vein is somewhat intact to some point and then cuts out, and it also drains through the coronary vein. So all of that would need to be protected. And in your favor, it looks to me here like there is a portosystemic shunt. Now, here's going to be your target zone where you have to divide, and so you have to be able to do that operation preserving all of those collaterals on the left. This appears to be a situation. There's a large set of collaterals there. It's hard to tell how those connect back to the portal system, but it's certainly through the right side. And so these will have to go. And so that is with a danger zone there where you could run into the problem. This particular patient was handled, and of course you can't see the left side of collaterals because they weren't dissected out. You can see that the SMV is transected. There was no reconstruction of the more inflow side of the SMV. And in this particular case, we disconnected the ileo and jejunal branches. And in order to drain the ileo branch, it was tapped into the IVC, and we created a mesocaval shunt. That could be also tapped up back into the portal system. So the pitfalls with this is if you've ever done one of these cases and got into trouble, I always say it's okay until it's not. You start taking down collaterals, and then all of a sudden you get significant portal hypertension with bleeding and irreversible bile ischemia. And one of the things is slow and steady. Define all of the anatomy, define all of the collaterals, identify the branches that need to be divided, and test clamp those branches. And test clamp them for a period of time to ensure that the bowel does not become congested, and that if it does, that you have some plan to proceed, and that is your chance to back out. This type of procedure, collateral preservation, is almost always possible when you have a splenic vein intact. I'm a little less concerned when the splenic vein has flow, especially when the IMV drains into the splenic vein. I still test clamp, but often the flow will go back through the left side. You know, if possible, in this particular case, even if you have a disconnected splenic vein, you can do a splenic vein to portal vein reconnection, which recapitulates that situation, allowing you then to do collateral preservation if you really have no targets on the SMV. Obviously, preserve the coronary vein when possible. And if the splenic vein is out and you test clamp and it looks good to proceed with caution, because you absolutely have to save the remaining collaterals, and there's really no back out as you don't have any targets. So the next step in the evolution is actually very simple. Instead of doing a mesocaval shunt and having to preserve collaterals, you're now bypassing from major collateral branches. And as you know, they're thin-walled, a little bit difficult to suture to, but it can be done. This is a particular case where you see the SMV is out, there's a spaghetti of collaterals, the splenic vein is intact, but there's really no dominant left-sided collaterals, so collateral preservation won't work in this patient. And this is an example where the case where you isolate the collaterals, in this particular case, the dilated jejunal and ileo branches, and here we created an allograft, the cryopreserved allograft, bifurcated graft. We still have a splenic vein flow and flow through the IMV, but it was inadequate and there was bowel congestion, so this required reconstruction with this. And you can see this is from the left side of the patient near the ligament of Treitz underneath the SMA. So these were so distal, they were tapped in on the left side. And sometimes it's just a single branch where you have congestion of a drainage field, and these branches can be tapped in. Here you can see one where there's a lot of retrograde flow through middle colic where the SMV was not reconstructed. Again, splenic vein intact, but retapping it in. So the pitfalls here is that we need enough flow through these grafts for them to stay open. And as Chris Michalski mentioned earlier, we found the same number, about 200 cc's per minute with measurement is what these grafts need to stay open. They don't have to stay open forever, as they can go down over time, over a week or two if you have less flow. But as long as they go down slowly and not acutely, you'll have enough venous drainage. The other principles are similar to the collateral preservation. Again, you test clamp things often. And then the final step in the evolution, which has been described, is the extra anatomic bypass. And this is a particular case. Let's get back to the original case. Thankfully, there is an inflow target here, but it looks to be on the right portal vein. There is also a left portal vein. It's sort of covered by the collaterals there. And you have an inflow target. Now, you won't be able to do collateral preservation on the right or left. The other thing to consider as you're coming down through this uncinate process and you're taking down collaterals, you will still have flow from the left side to the right side through the uncinate process. And it'll be under high tension. So not only will you encounter bleeding with these thin-walled collaterals, But as you divide those last collaterals, and that takes some time to take down that uncinate process, the bowel will become venous congested. And so we've gone to simply suturing in a temporary extra-anatomic shunt, and graphically basically goes like this. You isolate portal vein and SMV, you put in your shunt, and I use a Dacron or PTFE shunt, and then you do your dissection, remove the tumor. Now you have venous decompression, so the blood loss is less, and you also have venous drainage from the bowel. You suture in your shunt, and then the graft is removed. In order to do this, by definition, when you're doing this, you're far down on the base of the mesentery, and as was demonstrated much nicer than what I'm showing here by Vikesh in videos, you can see that you often have to go below the transverse mesocolon to dissect out your SMV to get your target. And here's one example of an extra-anatomic bypass. You can see a large tumor of the head of the pancreas here, and the tumor is in situ. We still have not taken down the artery. We have a distal target on the SMA. And in this particular case, we used as our permanent graft, a left IJ autologous harvested from the patient. Harvested from the patient. That proximal anastomosis is very tenuous and very difficult, and you hate to take that back down and redo it. And as actually Chris Mikulski also mentioned today, sew in that proximal first, and then use the distal end of your graft, sewing graft to graft, and the distal end of this graft then is tapped back into the portal vein. This decompresses those collaterals and allows you to actually do the operation in a very controlled fashion while you're taking down collaterals, and you don't have to worry about venous drainage. Incidentally, you can see that shunt is a lot longer than some of the others that were shown. I just use it to keep it out of the field, but I will say it can build up thrombus, and I systemically heparinize with an ACT over 200. And then when we were done, you can see the dissection with the SMA, and there we just took the graft and swung it back up, cut out the extra anatomic graft, and now it's a simple single anastomosis, and we don't have to worry about the inflow. Now, we have encountered a couple of times where the tumor involves the hilum, which adds another layer of complexity, where you can take down the hilar plate and you can control your right and left portal veins. And that gets to be a little bit hairy when you're up there pretty high and you're sewing to small cuffs, or in some cases, the collaterals go right up to that level. And a little trick that we started doing that works nicely is a so-called Rex shunt. I see there's a lot of people who deal with portal hypertension here. We do not do very much more in the United States surgically. So this is probably a trick that you do routinely. I had to learn it. But to find the left portal vein by taking down the round ligament, and you can get access to the portal vein. So then the distal end of this shunt can be sutured to the left portal vein. I don't have any great pictures of it here, but you can see it diagrammatically here. The nice thing about this is at the end, it can stay like that in situ, or if you're inclined to, after the tumor's out, you may have better access to the hilum, and then you can reconstruct it. So the pitfalls with this and cautions and recommendations are that the inflow and outflow targets are difficult. The best location to establish inflow is just don't work near the pancreas, jump to below the transverse mesocolon, stay away from the tumor, and just find your targets for your inflow. And the outflow sometimes requires that you go fairly high in the hilum. If you get up there, it seems unsafe or you can't get control. Don't get discouraged, because that left-sided Rex shunt works really great for that. An artificial graft is often thrombogenic. It's hard to, again, you don't necessarily have to use it. I like having the graft out of my field, but I will systemically heparinize for this. And often, and we're not part of this discussion, is there's often concomitant arterial resection. In my practice, I heparinize for arterial resection, so we're doing it anyhow. And the final little pearl of wisdom is do the most difficult anastomosis first and try to create your shunt so that anastomosis won't need to be taken down. So, like I said, I haven't said anything here that hasn't already been said. I'm a little bit humbled speaking in front of this audience who, in the last session, has a lot more experience in working in portal hypertension. but these are sort of my tricks of the trade that I was taught over the years, and unfortunately some that I learned the hard way. But the three ways that I deal with portal hypertension and cavernous transformation of the portal vein are a combination of collateral preservation, a collateral bypass, sometimes combined with a mesocaval shunt, and an extra anatomic temporary shunt procedure. And we sort of breezed through this pretty quickly, but one of the fellows actually from the Heidelberg group, who's still now back there working with the Heidelberg group, who had worked with us for several years, organized our experience on dealing with this, and he wrote a pretty nice paper, which is a real world experience. So we also talk about our bad outcomes. So once again, thank you for the invitation. It's a real honor to be here, and I'm humbled to be in front of this audience, and thank you for the podium.